Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of TVG Talk. My name is Paco Treviño, and today I'm joined by Laura Chapa.
Hey, guys.
And today will be a different kind of video. We will be talking about many of our predictions and our thoughts on what could be next for Nintendo in 2020. We're a little half over the year, and so we think that a very strong time frame is coming for video games in general, with the launch of competing hardware, and so we wanted to speculate what Nintendo might be doing in the second half of this year, essentially. And so, Laura, why don't we start with you? Let's talk about some of your thoughts and predictions that you might have.
Sure. We know Nintendo has been pretty silent about what they're going to do on the latter half of the year. And as you said, they're competing against new hardware, so they got to go out with a bang. It's been rumored for the longest time that a Mario 3D collection, sort of the 3D games into one for the Switch, or a port remaster of Mario 3D World is coming. And I agree with that. I think they're trying to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary. So I'm picking a Mario game. I think they're going to do a new Mario sports game, Mario Strikers, I think. We haven't seen Mario Strikers since the Wii. And I think this game could really be cool on the Switch. I think it could be an esport sort of like Splatoon. I sort of see it like that. The items are not too RNG, they're pretty balanced, so I think that this could help them a lot. And if not Strikers, I think a new sports mix. I think, the last one was on the 3DS with Mario Sports Superstars. I think that, that game was not bad. I just think that each individual sport was not really that polished. If it was up to me for a mixed game, I would pick basketball, baseball, and golf, which are sort of the Mario sports games that I couldn't see in their own. But they have big fans in each sport. One of my favorite Mario sports games is Mario Hoops 3 and 3, the basketball game for the DS. So yeah, I think either Strikers or a new mix.
Okay, that's a big one because, like you said, there's really been kind of a drought of Mario sports games. Yeah. If we don't count Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, it's been, 2 years since Aces?
Yeah, like Aces was in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while, and it's time. I think it's time for a new spin-off in the sports.
Yeah, and the Olympic Games, I sort of seen more of like a party game, like, sort of this tons of games and you collect points, sort of, competing against your friends. And the sports games, I see them a bit more of like, that competitive edge, that sports feeling of sort of 1v1, there can be also multiplayer, but mostly 1v1s and sort of a more competitive ambient.
Yes, they're very different, and also they have a very different development team.
Right.
So those two factors, I think, really make them feel very different.
Yeah,
Camelot has not done any games since then, so...
Right, and Strikers was made by Next Level Games, and, Next Level Games, I think their last game was Luigi's Mansion 2, and I think they're pretty much done with that with the DLC. I don't know if more DLC is coming, but, I don't know how big their team is, if they could, development time-wise do this. But, they could always throw it to another team and see how it goes, Camelot or, Square used to do the Hoops 3 and 3 and the sports mix. So, I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have to be the same team, but I have a feeling that they would be the same team because they even tried to revive it, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely interested in doing another one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the same team. It could be different teams doing. Mm-hmm. So that's a very cool one, especially because usually we get a strong multiplayer game on the summer, and we didn't this year. Yes. Like there's always either Splatoon 2, Mario Kart, whatever it is. And this year it was nothing. It was Paper Mario. It's not at all a multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. And so it would be great. In fact, it might be the game of August or something like that. You know how they're doing essentially one game per month.
Right.
It might be August. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so another game that I think would be as good as a moment as any to see is Pikmin 4. We've heard about Pikmin 4 being essentially done for the past, 5 years?
Yeah, something like
I want to
that.
say. So, yeah, I think it's time to finally brush the dust off Pikmin. I think that 3 was a great game on the Wii U, and I would rather see a new one than 3 be ported.
Yeah.
And I see no reason to, since it's supposedly done. And I think that so many things could be done with the Joy-Cons in terms of interacting with Pikmin.
Yeah.
It can be very, very transformative. And yeah, I think that it's a good fit. And I see no reason to not do it.
Right. Yeah, as you said, the Joy-Cons have, HD rumble. They can do something interesting with that. The motion controls, the sensors. There's a lot of things that could work towards interesting gameplay in Pikmin. And after they release 4, they could go right ahead and port 1 to 3. And as you said, I always felt like Pikmin 4 was sort of a game that they were saving up for a time where there was sort of a drought. And I think this is the perfect moment. We don't know how much the pandemic is affecting Nintendo's development. So yeah, maybe it's time to release Pikmin 4.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe it's not a game that has a huge audience. Maybe it's a small audience, but great games either way.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good opportunity for this game.
Yeah. And
there's not much you can say about Pikmin 4 other than the ideas that might come out from it. It's always difficult to try to make the Joy-Cons be more used, like with the camera and the independent motions, because then you can't use a Pro controller and then people will complain that you can't use it. So it's tough to kind of get on that sweet spot with the Joy-Cons, I think. What other game do you think that we might be seeing in the second half of the year?
Right. Continuing with Mario's 35th anniversary, I think that we could see a Mario and Luigi game. It was always weird to me that on the 3DS they ported Superstar Saga, which is the first one, and then Bowser's Inside Story, which is the third one, and they missed the second one, which is actually, in my opinion, the best one, which is Partners in Time. So I think that they could port that into the Switch, maybe make it onto a full-on remake with new graphics and maybe even controls and whatnot. And yeah, I think that they were sort of on this habit of releasing those games, Mario and Luigi games, on the 3DS. I think that the last one was sort of like wrongly released on the 3DS. I think that they should have waited and just released it on the Switch. So yeah, I think that it's a perfect moment for this game. And I think that they don't need to add the other thing. I think Bowser's Minions was the extra mode that they added first, and then the second one, Bowser's Jr. something. I think that's not necessary. If they want to expand on that, great. But I think that the core game is enough for us to replay it.
Yeah, it seems almost mandatory, right? That at this point, like they have to add something to those games.
Right.
And why do you think they skipped Partners in Time? Was it a GBA game or a DS game?
It was a DS game.
A DS game.
But Bowser's Inside Story also was a DS game.
Yeah, that was a thing, because if they're both DS games, why skip it?
It's weird. And maybe they already knew that they were going into the Switch, but they wanted to release a game. So maybe they say, okay, we'll release Bowser's Inside Story now, and maybe save Partners in Time for later. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's weird.
Who knows? And it's kind of funny how many Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games remakes we've gotten in both the 3DS and Switch. It's kind of funny how that works. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to have a game like that. I mean, I don't know what's up with Alpha Dream, like what will happen with that development team. I mean, it wouldn't be the first one that Nintendo kind of reincorporates into one of their teams, but Who knows?
Right, and it can also be a test, for them. If maybe they gather some of the ex-employees and make a new team, or assign it to a new team or whatever. Okay, first port this one to the Switch, and then maybe we can continue and make a new one.
Right. I think that's a good first step. Kind of like migrate the technology and then. But yeah, I mean, it's a good one, and it would be kind of interesting to see it release in the same year as a Paper Mario game.
Right. Also that because they sort of moved Paper Mario away from its RPG roots and kind of left Mario and Luigi games sort of as the Mario RPG. Moving Paper Mario more of an adventure puzzle game. So people are clamoring for a Mario RPG, and if this is their series, which is gonna be a Mario RPG, let's put it on the Switch.
Right. So another game that I think would be interesting to talk about is Super Smash Brothers.
Right.
Because I think that we're gonna see at least one other fighter in what remains of the year, if not two of them. Maybe one in autumn and the other one in the holidays. So honestly, between the two of us, you are the Smash connoisseur. So I'd like you to start. Maybe if you want to talk about some of your predictions and maybe how you think they might handle the release of those.
One of my strongest predictions right now is Rex. Rex and Pyra, just Pyra, and that is because Sakurai when he added that Rex, from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if people don't know, that Mii custom. He said that we didn't have enough development time to add him as an actual fighter or as a trophy, so we made him a Mii custom, and he said something very similar for Springman. And now we have an ARMS character on Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I think Rex is a given by now. But I think that he's not going to be the next one because people are sort of like down kind of on the DLC because last one was, a Nintendo character from an IP that people weren't really asking for. So I think that next character has got to be one with a bang. I don't know. I'm feeling really strongly about Master Chief. I know Nintendo and Microsoft have really good relationships. I know a Microsoft character technically is already on Smash Bros. with Banjo-Kazooie. But I see that more of as a rare character. Not necessarily a pure Microsoft. Historically, Microsoft carrying the torch of Microsoft character. And I think Master Chief is perfect for both things, a new company, sort of, and something that would break the internet, make people go crazy. So those are sort of my two predictions, I guess. Okay,
so it's hard to disagree with your logic with the Rex one, because yes, they kind of had burnt Springman on the assist trophy, so it made a lot of sense to do someone else, and Min seems to have been asked by the developers themselves, so that it was like perfect. And Rex seems to be almost a shoo-in, like you said, for that role, and I think that they could do something very interesting with him, especially if they made him like go with Pyra and Mithra and the third one, which I don't know if it has a canonical name.
It does, but I forgot it.
It does. I didn't know that. I thought that it was just like whatever you picked. But the point is that you can do something very interesting with him. Like you can have different of the blades from the game, so it could be very interesting. It could be very cool, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a good game as well, so it doesn't hurt to represent it. Even if it's another anime character with a sword, so
that's true.
It's different enough, I would say. More so than Violet. And I can see what you're saying about spreading the Nintendo characters out a little bit more, because it's been twice in a row that people have complained about it being a Nintendo character, which is kind of funny.
Kind of funny,
when you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about it. But at the same time, I get you. Like once you've crossed into Banjo, into Joker, into these impossible characters,
Right.
coming back to sort of reality feels lesser to some degree.
Yeah.
And I would argue your prediction of Master Chief in the sense that I feel that it's a good opportunity to have new collaborations. And while Rare is a icky, not really Microsoft, like it's owned by Microsoft, but the history is so different from Microsoft. And so I hear you when you say that Master Chief is the character that might be coming to Smash. It would be really cool. He definitely deserves that spot. But for whatever reason, I have this hunch that Nintendo will focus more on third parties that they haven't interacted with. With the exception of Namco. I think that Namco is the one that would return because they haven't done any Namco characters since Pac-Man came out all the way back with Smash Ultimate, Smash 3DS and Wii U.
Right.
Over 5 years ago already. So I think it might be a Namco character. That was where I was going to with what I was saying, and I'm not so sure who exactly it would be because Namco has so many, like it's ridiculous. They have, they could use the Dig Dug characters, you know, they could go with a weird arcade mashup thing with all of their IPs, like they kind of did with Pac-Man, but other characters. They could go with Heihachi if they want to do a fighting game character. They could go with so many angles, but I think that Namco is kind of primed for another representative in the game. Yeah, they certainly have the legacy. They certainly have the development of the game. They co-develop it, so it's always been kind of weird that Pac-Man is all we have of them. Right. So that's where I lean to right now. Okay. But I do have some other ones as well. I mean, I know that I said what I said about the company. I think that Square Enix might have another one if it was from Crystal Dynamics, which is a company that they bought way after they became famous for Tomb Raider. I think that Tomb Raider might be a fantastic character, Lara Croft. I think that she definitely deserves a spot. She's one of the most iconic characters in gaming, and she's not in the game for whatever reason, you know, one reason or another. Well, they're called both Cloud and Hero, the two reasons, but I think that she has a good chance. If not this time, maybe by the end of the pass or something like that. I think that she has a good shot, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, icon-wise, I think that there's few characters that deserve it more than Lara Croft. You know, I just would argue that people don't ask for her that much, but you know, deserving-wise, I think that, as I said, there's few characters that deserve it more. I would maybe predict something like Sora from Square Enix, you know, from Disney, and just because people ask for him way too much, and Sakurai seems to be fulfilling fan requests with this game, so that would be my guess.
Yes, I think that Sora is another one from Square Enix as well. Yeah. That might be kind of primed for a spot, specifically because people ask him to no end, and a lot of people cite the problem of Disney kind of not being interested, and my question would be, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they be interested in the promotion? Right.
You know, Disney and Nintendo have already worked together. They made that Switch game from Tsum Tsum or some, I don't know what the game is called. They made a custom Switch.
Yeah, they made a custom Switch, and that game was actually developed by Namco, right? If I'm not mistaken. So all good points. All good points.
I think Ultimate Alliance is exclusive on the Switch, or Nintendo did something
it is.
with that? Oh, right.
It is.
So, you know,
it's exclusive. It still is exclusive.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't really see a reason. Like the
Yeah,
Disney argument seems so
that's
silly
weird.
now.
Right.
Yeah, Sora might be one. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say I'm a fan, but I do see a lot of people asking for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why not?
Hmm.
And talking about the multimedia thing with Disney, this might be a weird prediction,
Hmm.
but I wanted to talk about this trend that Nintendo has with Lego.
Right.
It's kind of like, bear with me a little for the people that might be like, what, Lego? But they had it's a lot of kits that they've made for the Super Mario series.
Yeah.
There's like the starter one, and then there's the Bowser one, and a lot.
Yeah. A
And
lot.
then they made the NES one, and
Hmm.
so I think that it might be finally time to get a Zelda set
Right.
made of Lego. Like, why not do it? I would really like to see it. There's been fan mock-ups for literally decades by this
Yeah.
point. Even some of them have been featured in Lego social media, where they put
Nice.
out the best creations by fans that are submitted to
Okay.
the website, and they've shared Zelda stuff more than once. One that was super notorious was one where they made the stables from Breath of the Wild,
Nice.
which is like this very head of a horse made out of like wood
Yeah.
and leather. And so yeah, I don't see a reason not to do it, but of course,
Right.
you never know. But I think that it would be a cool thing to see, and it seems super like a good time for something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people are buying those Mario sets and NES sets like crazy. More of the adults, I think, than the kids, but the kids love them too. And I think that Zelda is a perfect IP for a Lego set. They could do so much things with, the dungeons and the enemies, and the secret passages, and the sound effects. They're so iconic. So, yeah, I think it's perfect for it.
Yes, all those things. And so, what other prediction do you have that Nintendo might do in 2020?
Speaking about Zelda, I think that we're due for another Zelda game. I think the last one we had was I don't know if Cadence of Hyrule or the remake of Link's Awakening. Either way, I think Wind Waker HD, should be coming pretty soon to the Switch. People have asking for that game since way when, because Nintendo apparently loves to port Wii U games. So I think one is perfect. I mean, people love that remake remaster, and yeah, I think we need a Zelda game, and it seems like the perfect one.
Yes, it's my favorite Zelda, so I'm not gonna say like I absolutely hope that we see that game sooner rather than later. Having that game portable would be, a dream come true.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't know how they would treat Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, if they want to consider them Wii U ports, or if they would rather put them on some sort of GameCube thing later on. That's my only thing with those two games, because we are getting to the point where it's actually a prediction that I will talk later on, where we're getting all these Nintendo consoles. I think that the N64 might be next, and then the GameCube later on. I don't think the GameCube would be done the same way. I think the GameCube will do something different. But,
Right.
I wonder how they would treat those two games. Do you think that it would be a Wii U port, or do you think that it might be something more like in between, like a GameCube port in HD or something like that?
I mean, you just said it right now, and I remember that Wind Waker HD used a lot of the gamepad. So I don't know if a direct port would obviously it wouldn't work. I mean, you had to do something with the menus or whatever. I don't know if you could play it without the gamepad. I really don't know. Can you?
You can.
Right.
But it's the gamepad was very transformative in that game. I mean, you could pause and do what you do on the menus and on the map and everything.
Right.
But the gamepad integration in the game was very seamless. I think that they would be smart to do either like hold down on the D-pad and bring that menu without stopping the main game, something like that. Like they would definitely have to work something out if it's a Wii U port.
Yeah, so I think that they would do that. They would bring the Wii U one with some adjustments. Because I agree with you. They will eventually do something with the GameCube, but I think we're still way before
off.
that. Way up, because we haven't seen anything from Nintendo 64 yet. Not a mini console or not a streaming type thing for the Nintendo online service. So I think I wouldn't hold my breath on that GameCube thing till we see something done with the Nintendo 64. So I think it's a good time. If we release it now and maybe 3-4 years later we start seeing some things done with the GameCube, I think that there's no problem with that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that the timeline would be so spread out that it would not really affect.
Mm-hmm.
And any excuse to play Wind Waker again is a welcome one.
Right.
And speaking of Zelda, I think that it might be a good idea to talk about the sequel to Breath of the Wild. I think that we have known about it over a year by this point. So we have not heard anything about it since. So I don't know. Do you think that might be coming out this year?
It's weird. I used to think that was going to be the case. At the beginning of the year, I was so sure that Breath of the Wild 2 was coming this holiday. I thought that it was going to be this Nintendo's holiday game, but I don't know if something changed. Sort of due to the pandemic, or maybe something in development. Maybe something akin to Metroid Prime 4. I don't know, because it's really weird that they haven't said a word from it. Not another teaser, maybe a date. Sort of a placeholder date, or like a title, something like that. We haven't heard anything about it. And granted, that could change tomorrow. They could release a trailer and say it's releasing on December, and that's that. But I don't know about it. I think we're gonna see it next year.
Yeah, I agree with you that something changed, and they noticed that early on and decided to shush because
to slow down.
Because they talked about Breath of the Wild, like they teased it for 2014, and then every other year until it released in 2017, it had a date within that year. So we thought it would be coming 2014, 2015, 2016. It just didn't release, and fans were like waiting, and then like, oh, it's coming, oh, it's not anymore, and oh, it's coming, not anymore. And so I think that they saw that anxiety almost and decided, you know what, let's not talk about it at all until we have something concrete. And I mean, Zelda has always been delayed. I think I was seeing the other day, I think no mainline Zelda has been out without some sort of delay.
Wow.
Like at all. So I think that the one that comes closest is Majora's Mask, but because it was delayed within the same year or something like that.
Okay.
So so maybe something like that has changed in the way that they approach the audience.
Yeah.
Because I doubt that they would put out a cinematic trailer without gameplay ready, because that's a very non-Nintendo thing to do.
Right.
Having cinematics without gameplay, like what? That's not them. So I think that the game is very late into development, but maybe it will be released next year.
Yeah.
And so maybe early next year we'll see something, or to release late in the year. I think that's what it is.
Right.
But like you said, they could release a trailer tomorrow, and it's like Nintendo doesn't care about hype anymore. You can really tell that they want the hype to be so minimal. Like they announce a game, and within a month it's out.
Yeah,
like, that's been the trend this year. The exception being Animal Crossing, and that's it.
Right.
And Animal Crossing was delayed, so. So yeah, Breath of the Wild the sequel to Breath of the Wild might be going for something like that.
Right.
And I mean, it's always a mystery.
Yeah.
Another interesting topic that we kind of mentioned earlier was the Nintendo 64. Uh, it's funny because we both, or we think as a fan base, we speculate both about the N64 Mini and the N64 Switch Online. And
Yeah.
of course, those two products could not release like within the same time frame. They would need to be like a year apart at least.
Yeah.
And they both seem like they could release. So, do you think that we might be seeing an N64 Classic, or do you think they'll skip to the Switch Online? Or
I
what do you think?
don't really know. I think people really love those classic consoles. Those mini consoles. I don't know. Did they mention that they were not going to do a Game Boy one, like a original Game Boy one? Because I sort of thought that was going to be next, and it didn't happen. So either way, I think that there's market for both things. I think people loved having those little consoles on their desk or on their gaming setups, but they also love having those games on the Switch and checking out which game they're gonna add, asking for more and more games. So I think there's space for both.
Yeah, I think so too. The weird thing is that I both feel that the N64 might come out this year,
Right?
but at the same time, I feel that they need that third pillar for the Switch Online this year. So it's weird to me. I think that the way that it might work out is that they might release the N64 Classic this year, and the Game Boy or Game Boy Color or both for the Switch Online. I think that's what they might be going for.
Okay.
Because mini handhelds have not really worked. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo would make them work, but it does seem to go a little bit against the ridiculous simplicity of the plug and play.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing about the Nintendo, specifically the Nintendo mini consoles, is that they can be powered by TVs. So you might just plug them both into the TV and that's it. So I don't know, handhelds kind of have had troubles in the past with being like having that simplicity.
That's very true.
So I think that they might be skipping handhelds. I don't know. For whatever reason, I think that. And yeah, I mean, I hope we see an N64 Classic. I don't know how that would look, just because of the ridiculousness of having 4 slots into a tiny machine and all other things. So yeah, I think that's the approach that they might be taking. What do you think about my prediction?
Yeah, I agree with you. They haven't really done the mini handheld consoles, and it's sort of another ball game. I would want them, if they did it, I would want them to make an option for you to plug it on the TV and maybe plug in an SNES controller or the NES controller, so you could play those games too on the TV. And yeah, it's a hassle with the batteries, and maybe you have to charge it and whatnot. It loses, that charm. And I think you're right. The N64 one is sort of an awkward console to do, also because of the controllers, and you can't really change those. Maybe if you did the Hori versions, of the N64 controllers, but people would be mad at them not using the originals because they're the originals, and they couldn't really make them smaller or something for it to be more like accessible. So yeah, it's an awkward one.
Yeah, I think that what they would do in that topic would be just bite the bullet, as they say, and release the console maybe with 1 or 2 controllers, and then like buy however many you need. But there's a couple weird things there, because one, if the console is so small, how do you put so many plugs in the front of it? I don't think that they could pull off the Wii plug anymore. It's huge, that thing. I think it would have to be USB-C or something like that.
I don't know why haven't they done that.
I don't know either, but that's the way that it might be. And Yeah, another thing that occurred to me was that the Game Boy might be competing a little bit with the Switch if they ever do ports for it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that's the N64. Do you have any other predictions that you might want to share?
Yeah, maybe a last one because I don't know if it's too long already. But we already talked about Metroid Prime 4, but we don't think that it's going to be released this year. It sort of went through a development cycle, reset or whatever. But they've already started on it again. I think that they're going good with it now. I think that they've been talking about that sort of. So I think now it's time again to release the Prime Trilogy. Because way back when Metroid Prime 4 was releasing, there was the rumor or even leak, I don't know, of them releasing Metroid Prime Trilogy for the Switch. So I think now it's better than ever. If they maybe had it in the back burner of the releases, and they don't know what to do now, maybe they could do that. I think that's a great game for new generations to experience and to get it on the go. Man, it will be great.
Yeah, it would be great. I think, yeah, this is not the year for the game, but for Prime 4. And, I was speculating that maybe the reason that the Prime Trilogy was moved, because, yeah, it seemed like the surest thing when it was rumored or leaked or whatever. And I think that what happened is that looking at Retro Studios' history, they've always made their own remasters and remakes and ports. I think that with the 3D, Donkey Kong Returns 3D, I think Next Level or Gresso helped. It was Gresso, I think it was Gresso. Yes. They helped, but Retro was involved. And so with that history of, they ported the Metroid Prime 1 and 2 to the Wii, they remastered and ported Tropical Freeze to the Switch. So with that history, I think that they were the ones working on the trilogy, but then development was drawn from it to help do Prime 4 because Prime 4 was just not working, whatever was happening over at Japan.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think that's the reason, like trying to make sense of the timeline. I think that's what happened.
For sure.
And yeah, I guess that's it for Prime 4. So, do you have anything else that you want to talk about in Nintendo 2020?
Sure. I mean, it was sort of a crazy, out there prediction because I think that most of our predictions were pretty grounded or pretty tame. So I'm gonna go for a Fire Emblem game. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. I would, and why did I pick this one and not maybe Awakening or I forgot the other one. The one with the Fates, right? Thanks with the different versions. I think that this game was sold the worst out of those three, and I think that it deserved so much more. It was really different from those two, so I think that it would serve it well to be released on the Switch and sort of try a new path for Fire Emblem. Sort of waiting for them to maybe release a new one, maybe another remake from another classic Fire Emblem. But I think that this game deserves to be played more. And I think that we haven't had a lot of 3DS ports or remakes or whatever for the Switch. I can remember the World Ends With You. I think it's one, or I don't know if that was from DS or not 3DS. I don't remember any other ones. So yeah, I think that some of those games deserve to be on the Switch.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good prediction of Fire Emblem. I see what you mean with the sales of Shadows of Valentia, and in my opinion, it's the best Fire Emblem on the 3DS. It's a crime that more people have not played it. However, I feel that it was not really that much crippled or kind of held back by the 3DS. I feel that more about Fates because of the version differences, or more so the version separation, where you had three versions. Well, first two, then the third one, and I feel that so few people must have played the third one, and especially even less people play all three of them. So I feel that game might be bettered more by a unifying version.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think that neither of those two are gonna be ported. I think
Okay.
that they would be porting another classic one.
Right.
It's a shame that we never got the second Fire Emblem with Mark, the remake.
Uh-huh.
I forget if it's called Mystery of the Emblem. I think it is.
I think it is.
It's a shame that we never got that remake from the DS, but maybe that game could be remade, or other classic, either from the Super Nintendo or something like that. So whatever it is, I think that they will be porting something that the West has not seen. I have that hunch. I think that's part of the reason that they are remaking so many Fire Emblems, to port them overseas. I don't know, what do you think of that observation?
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right with the Fates thing. Most people only play the one. I mean, I only played the one, so very few people went and got a second or even the third one. So you're completely right with that. And sort of the porting of Fire Emblems, I also think that they're gonna port sort of a classic one. Not necessarily that we didn't get on the West, but I think that the Ike ones have sort of like this strong fan base, Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. I think that they, and these are rare to find, and they weren't on really any virtual console or whatever that I remember. So I think that they might be remaking or just porting these ones.
Yes, they are so hard to find, and they are so expensive. I've tried to buy them for the past 5 or 6 years. Like since I became a Fire Emblem fan, I've been trying to get them, and I have never been able to, because they're always over $100 and in bad condition, and something. So, so yeah, it would be fantastic if you ask me to port them. I just don't know if it's the time for them. Like, I feel like they would be skipping so many things by doing that, but it would be fantastic. I mean, and they are rated among the best Fire Emblems. A lot of people consider them to be the best too, in fact. So yeah, it would be fantastic to see those as well.
Yeah, I played the first one, Path of Radiance, and it was great. I think it was my first Fire Emblem that I played, and I loved it.
Yeah, I've never played it, so yeah, it would be a great opportunity to play it. So, do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about?
No, not really. That's all I got.
Okay, so I guess that's a wrap up. And thank you so much for joining us, you guys. And if you have any predictions or thoughts that you might think that we were missing, please make sure to share it with us in the comments.
Right.
This has been Paco Trevino, and I was joined, as always, by Laura Chapa.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Until next time, bye-bye, guys.